That's the one in DC, right?
Yes.
So
Yep.
how hard is that to put together?
A lot of this is being put together.
I'll say the grin and giggle tells it all.
Can they make it? Can they not? Is there all of a sudden going to be a last minute vote? Are we going to have everybody? No. Are we going to have enough? And a lot of people? Absolutely. You're changing lives. You're taking someone that is going from making, $10 an hour, able to actually sustain life for their family. And that's just the beginning of the stepping stone, and they go from there. I think it's funny when people are like, I've never been fired. I think most of us probably have been fired. Probably not 4 times from one job. I don't know if you're aware of this, but when you get fired, they stop paying you. So it's kind of a big deal, right?
The true leader is not threatened by competition, but embraces it.
That is something that I think about all the time. There's always someone who has a different opinion than you have, right? Communication is every bit as important now as it was before.
As you have other people that you're around and working that are also great leaders, they're going to come up with stuff that you don't come up and think about. That's just what they do. It's like a leader versus a boss.
A leader is going to take all of those little tidbits and make something out of it.
This is the Clark Connection Podcast, your weekly dose of inspiration and power. We'll dive deep into the stories and strategies that ignite personal growth and entrepreneurial fire. Join us as we empower you to take control, level up your leadership, and build the life you deserve. Get ready to rise, to thrive, and to finally become the leader of your own destiny. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Clark Connection Podcast, the show where leaders, learners, and change makers come together to explore what drives real personal growth and generational impact. I'm your host, Aaron Clark, aka The Coach, and today's conversation is one that truly highlights the power of education to change lives. Now, before we dive in, I want to take a moment to thank the sponsors who help make this show possible. First up, that is our premier sponsor, that Vicki Hubbard with Hubbard Flooring Studios. That leadership always starts with a strong foundation, and so does your home or office. Vicki and her team don't just cover floors, they help you step into excellence, one plank, tile, or carpet at a time. And now, Hubbard Flooring Studio offers Hunter Douglas blinds, giving you the ability to set the tone and control the light, and create the perfect environment to lead from. Visit them at their physical location on Bolin Avenue in Baton Rouge, or give them a call at 225-924-1582, or you can browse their work at hubbardflooringstudios.com. And through Christmas, they are giving 10% off of their rugs, and 24 months, 0% interest. If you mention Coach Clark, they will give you an additional 10% off and a bottle of cleaner. Look for the discount code. It's in the description below. It's HUBFL. Hubbard Flooring Studio, where strong foundations and bright visions begin. Thanks to Wayne with 7K medals for silver and gold. Just like strong leadership, building wealth takes strategy and vision. Wayne helps you craft a foundation that shines. Shout out to Bobby with the Comfy Quest LLC. She helps realign, recharge, and create the mental and physical space to lead your life with balance and clarity. Andrew with Automate Integrate Professional Services, making your business run smarter, smoother, and more efficiently, giving you the freedom to focus on what matters most. Big thanks to Joseph with Landscape King, transforming yards into beautiful, inspiring spaces that set the stage for creativity, growth, and leadership in every season. And a special thank you to C&J Embroidery, by bringing your brand to life with custom designs that leave a lasting impression wherever you lead. Thanks to all of our wonderful sponsors. And if this is something that you're interested in and want to join in and help to create a legacy that's going to develop more than leaders, they reach out to me. They were looking for new sponsors as we move into the 2026 year. So Also, if you're just looking to connect with me, they hit me up. You can go to all socials at coach_A_Clark or visit my website, www.coachaclark.com. And to make sure that you don't miss out, they connect with the Clark Connection podcast on all socials as well, that you don't want to miss anything. Today, I'm joined by someone whose work is creating real measurable transformation in communities across the country. Jeri Prochaska is the president of business development at Conext and the co-executive director of CSPEN, two organizations at the forefront of elevating educational access, student support, and workforce success. Jeri has spent her career helping individuals accomplish what no one in their family has done before: graduate, advance, and step into a new level of possibility. In this episode, we talk about what it means to witness someone walk across the stage when they're the first one in their entire family to do so, how a person can go from earning $10 an hour to finally sustaining their family with dignity, how education becomes the doorway to buying a home, getting reliable transportation, and waking up every morning feeling confident about the future. These aren't just milestones. They're life-changing moments that ripple outwards into families, neighborhoods, and entire communities. Jeri's insight and passion remind us that leadership isn't just about shaping systems. It's about empowering people. It's about creating opportunity, sparking growth, and believing in what someone can become long before they see it themselves. So make sure you get you a pen, get you some paper, something to write on and take notes, and let's get into it. All right, and Jeri, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's awesome to have you on. I mean, I just got done telling everybody all the laundry list of things you've done. We just had Mike on with Conext, and you're the business development at Conext. But I want to kind of kick off the co-executive director for CSPEN. Tell us what is CSPEN?
What is that? So CSPEN started out 12 years ago. Actually, a little more than that was when we started, but our first conference was 12 years ago. And it started out as Central States Private Education Network. And it was something that myself and a couple other people kind of talked about a little bit. There was a time, actually, I guess the time didn't really end yet, that those states who really didn't have representation, the policymakers would really go after them in the tax-paying institutions. And they made it very, very difficult for them to do business. One day I was talking with a gentleman, many people might remember, his name was Wicker Freeman. Wicker Freeman used to run the Illinois Association, and he was going to stop running it. And I said, well, who's going to take over? And he said, well, maybe you should do it. And I'm like, what do I know about, what do I know about this? I don't know anything about this. I'm a Wonderlic. I'm your Wonderlic person, And I kind of thought about it, and I decided I actually did know a little about something about it. And I actually knew an awful lot of people by that time, having spent as much time in the sector as I did. And so I just started kind of talking around. And someone introduced me to Tom Netting, and then we kind of started kicking the ball around and decided to run with it. So we had our first conference, like I said, 12 years ago in Chicago. And at our very first conference, we had individuals from 37 states come.
Oh, wow.
And Central States at the time represented 5 states: Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa, and what am I missing? I think North and South Dakota, so it had 6. And so right then we kind of knew that we were onto something. And we set it up a little bit differently because we didn't really want to be an association. What we wanted to do was build a community, somewhere where people could really get access to information under the belief that if something bad happens to one school, it happens to all of them. So 3 years later, our board voted to make us a national organization, which we have been for the last 9 years or 8 years. And we changed our name to Career Schools Private Information Network, and that's where we are.
Well, that's really cool. I love hearing how stuff starts. So I had no idea that it started off as central states,
Yeah.
um, not career schools. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. That's pretty
We,
cool.
we were able to keep our cool acronyms, so we enjoyed that part.
Right. Well, and then that's a huge success that talks about how much you actually went and did between you and Tom just to get 38 states represented when you only represent 5.
Yeah, it was kind of different. Um, but I think from the beginning, we had a really good knack of identifying kind of the hot topics of what people wanted to hear and what they didn't want to hear. We had some great people and great vendors that supported us from the get go and spread the word. And there hadn't been any change within our sector, as far as anything new for a very, very long time. And people wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's cool. I know I enjoy every time I've been, so that's definitely different from the rest. But I think different is good in this.
Yeah, I mean, I like the word different better than some of the other things I've heard people say about, I mean, different is better than weird, right? Or, um, but we're great with that. We're really fine with that. I mean, we are a little more chaotic. We are probably not as, for lack of a better word, structured and organized, which makes us very nimble. So as we want to address different needs and help different schools, and as the issues arise, we really can pounce on it and really, just move, tread right through it and make a impact. And that part's kind of
Yeah, that's cool. That's real cool how it came together. So what would you say was probably the biggest challenge with putting everything together when y'all first got started?
money.
Like
Isn't it always money? I mean,
That's
this was
darn
an
funny.
idea that kind of originated on a cocktail napkin. I mean, if you'll talk to, I don't know if you know Dave Moore or not, but we kind of, I ran this idea of, across a few people, and we'd be at different various conferences talking and doing things and like spelling out different things that it should be called and fun little words that what it should be and what it should do. We had a lot of fun kind of putting it together. But, we didn't never really had anybody that says, "Hey, here, I'll give you $100,000." So, like I said, our first conference took place at the Renaissance in Chicago O'Hare, and our exhibit hall was basically a hallway. I think we had maybe, and I think we probably had like 18 vendors at the time. Yeah, I think we had 112 individuals from schools that came, and it was fun.
That's I mean, you couldn't have just found that money tree, like, you didn't find the money tree and just plant it and
So, and we looked.
yeah.
We
Let me
dug
know
and
when
we
you
looked.
find it. I'd like one of the seeds from it.
Yeah, right. But I mean, we're still really not, we're a 501(c)(3) nonprofit, so we're 100% funded by donors. So we still don't have that money tree, and that's okay. That's all right. That's not really who we are. We both have other things that we do. Um, we run a pretty small, tightly woven organization. I have a fantastic board that steps in and comes up with some great ideas. And everybody that works with us has all been in this sector for a very long time. They know the issues, they know what people want to hear, they know what they want to hear. And a lot of times that's where I get my best ideas is, even conversations with people like yourself. They're like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" Or, "I've never seen this done." And we run with it.
Yeah, and that's important. I think that's important for anybody in a leadership role to be able to know that, hey, I've got to talk to my customers. I got to know what they're thinking, what they want. Because if you just come up with this great idea of we're going to add this, but nobody wants to support it, it's basically worthless.
Yeah, I don't think we would have lasted very long if that was if that was the case. But people have been, they've been very appreciative, and by appreciative, I also mean generous, and it kind of keeps the whole, train moving. Doing that, I think a good example of that would be we have our upcoming higher ed policy meeting coming up in Washington D.C. in February, and at our last board meeting, I don't know if you've heard about this. I don't even know if I should be talking about this, but obviously the whole anthology issue is something that's really weighing on a lot of these schools because they've all been very invested in this, and the upcoming bankruptcy and things like that. And Josh Swain, who is the president of my board and CEO over there at Charter, came up with the idea to actually do a workshop prior to it and bring in other SIS companies and really speak to this issue, other alternatives, what they can do, and do all of that. And I'm really excited about it. I think it's gonna be fantastic,
That does sound like a fantastic thing to do.
right?
Nah, I like that. Yeah, because I know that's definitely affecting a lot of people. I've had
Yeah.
several different people reach out after and like, hey, what are y'all doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing, and I don't know if we want to dig very deep on that on here, but
No,
but I
no,
think
not too deep.
just I guess what I'm trying to say is that there are issues like that in the school, and we just try to stay on top of them and to be a resource of change and assistance when people have problems like that or questions.
Right. Yeah. And all right. And so you said y'all are putting together the policy meeting, the what do you say? The higher ed policy meeting.
Higher education policy meeting, yes,
I'm sure because that's the one in DC, right?
yes,
So
yep.
how hard is that to put together?
Whew, well, a lot of this is being
I'll
put.
say the grin and giggle tells it all.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, now, we're working with members of Congress and people in DC and their schedule. Can they make it? Can they not? Is there all of a sudden going to be a last minute vote? Is something going to happen in their home state where they can't make it? So there's a lot of moving parts. We've been lucky enough that every year, if one person can't make it, other people kind of fill in and do that. So I think this year, they are all in session. It's I have no doubt that it's going to be fantastic. Are we going to have everybody? No. Are we going to have enough and a lot of people? Absolutely. But I can't tell you who yet. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was hoping you'd break it here, but
Sorry.
I don't blame you for not wanting
I
to.
got to wait till I
But
get
I
those
can see
final confirmation.
they having to put together all the different like congressmen and women, senators.
Mhm.
Jeez.
Well, and
That,
then, we also have a lot of other people that are from the media. In our sector, we have lobbyists. We have lobbyist panels. So we'll have, many of those individuals. They all have pretty crazy schedules themselves, and to get them all to commit to come and hang out with us for 3 days, um, is pretty fantastic. We have. I'm trying to think of what else we have that we have every year. Oh, we have a lot of think tanks. We have the individuals from ACE, from Urban Institute. I don't want to leave anybody out, so I'm just going to stop right there.
yeah. And I bet those think tanks are a lot of fun.
They really are. I mean, just the way that they can take an issue and just really dive deep into, something like right now, it might be gainful employment or 90-10, or, there's a lot of different things involving the veterans and that type of thing. And getting them on stage and being able to hear what they've been working on and what they're doing, but also to be able to ask questions and share how that information is useful in their school or how they can actually apply that to helping their students. It's fantastic.
And so how long does it take to put together something like that, to put together the higher ed day, policy day?
Well, that one comes together a little quicker than our annual conference does. But, I mean, that one probably about 4 months. We kind of come up with the ideas, get going on it, and then it's just doing all the shuffling around and making everything happen. Working on everyone's schedule and doing that. The truth is a lot of the agenda is kind of laid out for us because it's just what's important to you at the schools and what it is to do. What they're talking about, whether it's something new or something old or the same old. Again, I mentioned gainful employment, the same things we've been talking about forever. As far as the issues, you know, But every year there's always, a few new things that are happening out there. So about 4 months.
Yeah, that's not that bad. I've figured with everybody, with all the different, hey, I got to make sure I get this congressman and that media person and whoever all there. I figured that might take a little bit long, but 4 months, that's not too bad.
Well, there's 12 months out in the year, and we have 4 months that we do that. And then I would think our annual conference probably takes about 7 months. So, and then along with that, we're going to, all of the state associations and, the accreditations and, all of the other events that we're speaking at and doing all of that. So, we need a couple more months in the year. That would be fantastic, but
I'm sure we could squeeze a couple more in. How many
right?
more you need me to? We'll bring that up in the think tank at the policy meeting.
Yeah, there we
Let's
go.
just
Let's add in a couple more months. That'd be great.
and while we're at it, let's put more than 24 hours in the day.
Right. That's good. 24 is good. 24, let's leave it at 24.
Okay, all right. We can leave the 24 alone. But the months, we're definitely adding it. We'll
I
see.
think it would work. It would work for me anyway.
Well, that's all we need.
Right.
It's gonna make
That's all about me. It's just all about keeping me happy.
Exactly.
I'm happy. I'm busy. Right.
I love it. That's what we're gonna do. I've got it written down in my notes. I'm gonna put it forward. We'll form a committee and do all the stuff.
There we go. There we go.
The committee to get it to 15 months in a year.
I think this started like many moons ago. So good luck with that.
Oh, it's not a battle I'm going to try to fight.
Okay.
Not at all. To me, that's one of those, why does the sun rise in the east and set in the west? I'm not trying to figure that one out. That's just the way God made it.
I mean, there's a few issues that are, involved with our schools and operations where you could kind of say it's hard to figure those things out too. So
I
it
think
might
that
be
was
easier.
something that
It might
we
actually be easier to add a couple months on.
did. I think I think we could get more people to agree on adding
Yep.
more months.
Probably. I don't think it'd be that hard.
I was saying, while we're at it, let's add another season or two to the South. Because, we get just summer.
Well, I live in Minnesota, so we have 4 seasons. But I'll take another holiday all day long. Give me another holiday. I'll take
There you
another
go.
holiday. That'd be good.
Deal.
Yep.
I'm going to get it to the other committee.
Not one where I have to dress up, though. Just a holiday,
We'll call it Pajama Month.
There we go. Pajama holiday. That'd be great.
Yes. And so, hey, guys, if you've enjoyed what you've heard so far, then make sure you hit that like, subscribe, follow button. That helps us to continue bringing on great guests like Jeri and keeping us going for many, many more episodes. And so I kind of want to go back a little bit. I know that you got people that know who you are, especially in the private education sector. But how did Jeri get her journey going?
Whew. Once upon a time, very long time ago. You want to know where I started? Is that
Yeah,
what
Yeah, I think that would be kind of cool to.
Okay. How does
You don't
everyone
have to give us
doing?
the long version.
Yeah. Well, the sectors. Everyone, once you've been in it, I kind of say it's very addictive. So people have a tendency to stay in it and, and build a network based on where they worked and, they bump into each other all the time. But I actually started a long time ago. I think it was 91. And the first school I ever worked for was Aveda Institute. And it was their corporate. It was their first one that was in Minneapolis. And so I started in the Cosmo world and I was there for 2 years and I loved it. It was fantastic, but I wound up leaving there and going to a school. At the time, it was Brown Institute after it turned into Brown College. But fairly quickly after I started working there, in fact, I think I was only there for 5 days. And Jack Larson, which is a name a lot of people recognize, came in and he had bought in our school. And I believe this was in 93 or 94. And I wound up staying there for 14 years. 14 years. And all in admissions and marketing. And I still am in touch with a lot of the people that I had worked with when I was there. I know you're smiling because I told you that I had been fired 4 times from there, which is really kind of a funny story. But yeah,
Oh,
so
we're
I
going to
had been
circle
there
back to
for
that.
you want to go back to that?
I said, we're going to circle back.
Okay, we'll
We
go
will
back to that.
circle back.
All right. And then, subsequently I wound up working for other schools after that. I worked for Spartan School of Aeronautics. I worked for High Tech. The last school I actually worked for was Remington College. And from there, I was recruited out from Wonderlic. And I wound up going to work for them in Libertyville, Illinois. I was there for 6 years. And I spent a short little stint after that at platform advertising because I thought I really, being admissions and marketing and all of that the whole time, I thought that's exactly where I needed to be. And it turned out that selling and marketing was really not my thing. I preferred to be a little more in the trenches of that. So I went into the startup world and started bringing startups to market. And I am now at Conext, which is my third one. And I absolutely love it.
Yeah. And I think you said something that was a true fact for everybody that gets into the proprietary school industry is people get into it and like, huh. And then they just fall in love with what we actually do in the industry because the change we make in people's lives is so real. It's just amazing. It's phenomenal what we do to help people in this.
Yeah, I mean, once you've actually, I don't think people really understand it if they haven't been responsible for changing a life. If they haven't actually met someone before they had that, when, the first time you meet them, they're insecure and they're kind of scared. They're not exactly sure what to do. And it isn't for everybody. So I'm not saying that it is, but you really get a chance to watch them grow and watch them do that. And we've all worked in a lot of schools where you see someone that you personally worked with walk across the stage and no one in their whole family has ever done that before. I mean, that's really, really big. I mean, you are, like you said, you're changing lives. It's a big deal. You're taking someone that is going from making, $10 an hour, that now is getting out and is, able to actually sustain life for their family. They can get a house, they can get a car, they can wake up in the morning and feel great about themselves. And that's just the beginning of the stepping stone, and they go from there.
Yeah. One that's my favorite to tell people is that so in my role as the director of admissions, on orientation day, I always go talk to the seniors that are there. It's usually their last day. So, I mean, when we start a new class, we got a class that's going out. And I had one student tell me once, just like, what would you go tell to somebody coming into school? And she was like, well, I would tell everybody that I used to be a quitter and that if they just stick with it, they can do it too. Cause I was at a dead end job. I was embarrassed to tell people what I'd done. I'd flunked out of high school. I'd done, list all this stuff. And she's like, I'm now proud to tell people where I work because I got a job. I'm finishing my externship and I've been hired and I'm proud to tell people where I work. And my 3 little kids can now see that if mom can do it, I can do it. So it was just kind of like, dang, that's why I get up and come to work every day.
Exactly. I mean, it's a great, I always like talking to people, because anyone who works in a school can rattle off 10 names of people. And I don't care if it was 30 years ago, you remember those names of these people that you changed, that wound up doing something. You run into them, you see them, when I was at Brown Institute, it was actually a radio broadcasting school. And so every once in a while I'll be like, hey, I enrolled that kid, it's kind of, who by the way, now is like 45 years, 50 years old, but, it's pretty amazing. There's not a lot of things where you can actually do that.
No, not outside of the education world. It's very rare outside
Yeah.
of education.
Right. Yeah. I think, I mean, again, like I said, these students whose entire families, have never had, a certificate or a degree or a career where they can actually, build upon, I mean, it can change so many lives. And it just, like you said, it trickles downhill.
Mm-hmm. It does. And so you said, all right, I was fired 4 times.
I knew you would forget that. Yeah.
Oh, no, I told you I was coming back to that.
It was the 90s. Um, you know, but,
I'll say that explains it all. It was the 90s.
yeah,
Next, please.
but, at the time I was working, I was working at Career Ed, and I really, I mean, I had been there at the early stages. I loved everything they stood for. I believed in everything, but they grew very rapidly. And whenever there's growth, there's going to be change. And I was there at the beginning of it. I loved what I did. I did not want to leave Minnesota. So, I kind of stayed there. But I was very dug in. And when you have a lot of people who want to come in and change and do a lot of different things, sometimes they really want you to adapt and do things a different way than you're used to, which I did. I did sometimes. But, sometimes you just don't see eye to eye. And I guess the fact of the matter is I was very stubborn and also very vocal about it. So,
Oh, you?
so yeah, me.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so, I mean, for various reasons, things got a little heated and I was fired. And then a couple months later, I'd come back and, test my toes somewhere else. And then I'd get a call and I'd come back. And, I think it's funny when people are like, I've never been fired. I think most of us probably have been fired, probably not 4 times from one job. But um, I will honestly say that, once you have that happen to you, it's all of a sudden like, wait a minute, this everything comes to a standstill, right? Like, I don't know if you're aware of this, but when you get fired, they stop paying you, so it's kind of a big deal, right? No kidding, they do. And, so you have to kind of sit back and reevaluate and figure out what you want to do. But I learned so much from that. And I think that was actually helped me kind of establish the rest of my career after that. Um, it also molded me into being a little more professional. I mean, there are certain words when someone is talking to you that you probably shouldn't say. So, there's that.
I'll say, and we'll let you guys use your imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the other thing too that it shows you is it's really not like, even though it is like in that moment, it's like, oh my goodness, the world is over. I can't go on. But give it a couple of days and you're like, it really isn't as bad as it seems. I got all this other stuff that I can go and try to get after.
I think any good company is going to be accepting of errors and changes, and how that comes about. Because think about it. I mean, it wasn't an easy thing to call and say, "Hey, you want to come back here?" You know, um, I mean, doing that. But I loved it, so I absolutely did want to come back. Um, but that also, that's a strong testament for the company as well. You know, it's a good story, and I will tell you, I don't know anybody else who worked there that was fired 4 times. So it definitely was not the norm. So there's nothing against the company. It was just, I was just, yeah.
I'm trying to think of somebody else that I know that might have been fired from anywhere more than once and rehired.
I
And
gotta think it's
yeah,
happened. I'm pretty sure. I'm sure it's happened. If I had a
you know
lot more
what?
better stories, I could write a book on it. But it only happened to me at that one place. So
Yeah, no, that is cool. That is cool. Then, real quick, guys, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Vicky Hubbard with Hubbard Flooring Studios. Look, and right now through the end of Christmas, you mention my name on any of your online purchases, she's giving 20% off, as well as 24 months, 0% interest for those who qualify. So definitely reach out to Vicky Hubbard with Hubbard Flooring Studio. And so kind of want to go into Connect. So I know you've got a different role from what we talked about with Mike in that you're the business developer. So So let's talk about that. What is Conext from your perspective?
What is Conext from my perspective? So, I mean, I don't think that's that different than Mike's perspective, other than the Conext is basically um, a brainchild, of Mike's great big giant brain that I'm sure everyone got to experience in that. Um, Conext is a very, very progressive tool, piece of software that has changed and adapted by our schools and what they need it to be. So you can say it's a CRM, there's CRMs, there's SISs, there's, a platform that is going to work for um, placement and for verification. I mean, it just does all of these different things that are all done. But when you started with, the initial, for example, the CRM and what it is, I don't know of another system that has the ability where if someone just says, you know what, I would really like to have this data that shows me this. And then someone says, that is an excellent idea. And 10 days later, it's on there. And not always 10 days. Don't hold me to that 10 days. Mike might not like that. But, Conext is really the brainchild of Mike, built with the assistance of all of our clients that come in and do it. And it changes and it evolves. And in all honesty, it evolves faster than I can even keep up with it. As someone who's representing this out to the public and to the schools,
That it does.
there are times where, Mike's like, no, we can do that. I'm like, really? I didn't know that. So,
Yeah.
so we have to have a lot of touch bases constantly, on what we do. And I'm so proud to work there. Having worked with a lot of different systems in the past, having someone working for someone that has, a under 2 hour, ticket time is just unheard of. And it's fabulous. So, the downside is if anybody has a problem, they all have my number on speed dial. So thankfully we don't have many problems, or I'd be, it's incredibly rare if I get those calls. So that makes my job a little bit easier.
It is quick. That's been one of the things that's impressed me the most as a customer myself. So seeing that, just the speed that it takes to get stuff done. And I think that's one of the cooler things too, is how Mike is just so open-minded and like, yeah, I can make that happen. Give me a couple days.
Yeah. well, and this was set up when, when they founded the company. It's very much like the other companies that he's had. And I'm sure there's a fancy word for it that I don't know about, but everyone who works there has a piece of it. And so there's a very high care factor in there. Yeah.
I guess that would be called employee owned, or.
Yeah, I don't know if, I actually don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's, different criteria that make it called employee owned or how much it is or what it is, but I know that everybody has a stake in it. So they all care about what happens.
Yeah, now that's cool. That is really cool. And so, like, what is your role as the president of business development?
So my role is really to let everybody know that Conext exists, what we do. I travel around, I speak about it, I answer questions for people. I talk to them about their current situation and what type of needs they might have, in their school, whether it's growing enrollments, whether it's being more compliant, whether it may be accreditation reporting or whatever it might be, working with Title IV, placement. It could be doing attendance or scheduling or whatever it is. And our system is modular. So, a big part of that is learning different schools' needs and then, being able to see if we're going to be a fit with them or not.
No, that's cool. That's cool. And I know we do enjoy it, that just having launched and went live with it. It's been real, what's the word? It's been a relief. That just seeing the quick response time and knowing that you have somebody in there that knows exactly how it works in a school.
I'm sure that there's plenty of other software companies. I just don't work for them, that are also fantastic. But I will say it's really great to have a tool that I represent that can really make such an immediate impact in the schools. No matter what the need is, no matter where in the student cycle it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, then kind of on that, I really liked when I asked one of the questions that I asked people in the guest forum is that what does leadership mean to you? And I kind of liked some of the stuff you'd said in there, but I'm gonna let you answer it. What does leadership mean to you?
So I'm one of those weird people, I guess. I believe, and first of all, let me start by saying I think that there is a distinct and giant difference from someone who is in leadership than as someone who's a leader. Because I think that someone who is actually a leader, that's kind of an acquired skill. And some people are just born with it. They're just born and people follow them and they do that kind of thing. Um, or they have just learned enough in their career where they are just leaders. When you're talking leadership, to me, that's a little more of a trait that can be taught. You read a lot of books. It's something you study really hard on. It's an attribute that you're really working on building all of the time. That doesn't mean you're not a leader. It does go both ways sometimes. It just doesn't go both ways all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't
that's
remember what I brought on the form, so sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that was exactly what you'd said. I do think it's important though that to distinguish the difference between being a leader and leadership,
Yeah.
because it is something that you work on, that you're trying to grow. And I personally believe everybody is a leader, because all leadership is influence. And we influence everybody one way or the other, whether we like to believe it or not, every day.
I mean, I don't know. I would say if you're not, I would say you could be. I don't know that everyone is, but you could be. And I think it also has different things. I mean, some people might be like, I don't know. I'll give you an example, like leaders of having a clean house. Okay. I'm an epic failure at that. Okay. Just to let you know, like when it comes to like running a household, no, absolutely not. The companies is a whole different story. But I think, you have a lot of, when I actually did the high school department and, my job was really talk to, young kids and what they wanted to do. No one ever came and said, I just want to be a middle management. They all aspire to be a leader. You just have to, it just takes years of experience to get you there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one thing that I love that you'd put in there, that some of the best leaders you've known in your career probably didn't even think of themselves as a leader.
That's valid.
And I think that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. I mean, when I look back at who I learned the most from, um, I mean, that doesn't even mean that I had a ton of respect for them, but most of them I did. But there are some people that were, leaders that, I didn't really enjoy, but I learned from them.
And there's always something you can learn everywhere too. You just got to be
Like,
looking for it.
exactly. Yeah. Keep your eyes open.
Yeah. I did like that. And another thing that you'd said, I thought it was a true leader is not threatened by competition, but embraces it.
That is something that I think about all the time. I mean, when with social media and just with a lot of things that are happening in everyone's life, um, I don't want to say there's always someone who has a different opinion than you have, right? Just always. And some people can actually share that opinion and share their success eloquently and professionally. And others act like teenagers, where it's more like scraping and and just trying to make their point all the time. And communication is every bit as important now as it was before, whether it's social media or standing, with a telephone or a microphone or doing anything like that. It's really how you get that message across.
And I think too, it's important, like because I know as a leader myself, it's important to not be threatened by that somebody else came up with something, a good idea or something, that one was a tough one for me to learn, because as you have other people that you're around and working that are also great leaders, they're going to come up with stuff that you don't come up and think about. That's just what they do. And to be able to go, man, that wasn't the best idea that Aaron came up with. Let's go with what Jeri came up with.
Well, I mean, I think that's what really sets a leader apart, I guess, than a manager. I mean, a leader is going to take all of those little tidbits and make something out of it. And someone who's just going to be in management might be a little more threatened with it, and they're going to stay right there and be a little more stagnant because they're not learning from other people.
Yeah. And that's what I was trying to, when you were talking about, I was like, a leader versus a boss.
Right.
Or like you said, a manager.
Manager, yeah.
Absolutely. So as we're starting to wind down a little bit, Jeri, one of the kind of the questions that I like to ask everybody, we'd mentioned about, what's one thing that you have to do to stay sharp? Because I'm sure that between working with CSPEN and Conext, you got to be doing a lot of stuff to make sure you're on top of your game.
This is going to sound like the dumbest answer ever, but I answer my phone. I mean, my phone is like, this thing is never out of my reach. And you know that. I mean, the other day you tried calling me and I didn't answer my phone and you thought I was dead. I mean, I was like, I'm not dead. I'm still here. But
I think that's what the voicemail said too.
I think it exactly did. But, I learn more from people who call me with questions, who email me with questions, they text me with questions, or they text me with ideas, or, I heard this, is this true? And I don't always know the answer. 99% of the time I know where to find the answer. And if I don't, I'm going to try to figure it out. But I learn more from the people I talk to than I could ever learn from, reading a book or an article or anything like that. Now, that's not to say, I don't have to research a little bit and do my share of reading, because I do. But that's probably my biggest source of information right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then kind of the last question that I always ask everybody is, what's one question that I should have asked you that maybe I didn't ask you?
I've got a good one. How about, why did I get into this?
All right. So, yeah, why did you get into this?
So I got into this because of my father. So my father actually owns a company. It's called Midwest Fabrics. He's owned it my whole life. He started as a stock boy, wound up owning this fabric textile business. And he had went to a school called Minnesota School of Business, which a lot of people might have remembered. It went out of business here, I think 5 years ago, something like that. And I've always been incredibly proud of my dad and what he did. And so when I was at Aveda and I found out how much I enjoyed admissions and doing all of that, I went over to Minnesota School of Business and I did not get the job. And so after that, I walked just right down the road over to Brown, which was probably a few miles away, and I did get that job. And that's how I am where I am.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. I did wind up working alongside with Jeannie Herman in Minnesota School of Business for many, many years, but I never actually physically worked there. And that's okay.
I was about to say, that's okay, because you're where you are now.
Yeah, I'm where I am now. So it's just fine.
Yeah. And now, Jeri, if anybody wanted to get in touch with you, how do they reach out and get in touch with you?
My easiest email to remember is Jeri, Jeri, at Conext, CONEXT.me. I do have other email addresses, but that's the easiest one for me to say on the show and have you remember. Otherwise, call Aaron. Everyone has my phone number. I'm pretty much out there. It's not a secret. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
You can also go to CSPEN.com.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm going to put all that in the description, guys. So it's down there. Just look in. You don't have to worry about it. It's there for you. So, well, Jeri, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you hopping on and sharing that with us. We'll definitely have to do this again.
There we go. And hey, happy holidays. Unless this is going to be
Yes.
aired like in March or something. I don't know.
No, it's going to be real soon.
There we go. Perfect.
All right. As we wrap up today's episode, I hope you're walking away with a deeper appreciation for the power of education, not just as a pathway to a diploma, but as a catalyst for personal growth, life transformation, and a long-term community impact. What Jeri shared with us today is a reminder that success doesn't always start with huge leaps. Sometimes it begins with a single step. A student deciding not to quit. A family seeing a new possibility for the first time, or an individual choosing to believe they're capable of more. We talked about the moment someone becomes the first in their entire family to walk across a stage, when a person moves from earning $10 an hour to finally supporting a family in a meaningful way. When they can buy their first home, drive their own car, and wake up each morning proud of who they are and who they've become. They aren't just stories. They're powerful evidence of how education creates opportunity and how one achievement can set off a ripple effect of success for generations. And leaders like Jeri, serving as the president of business development at Conext and the co-founder of CSPEN, are the ones helping make that transformation possible. If this conversation inspired you, challenged you, or reminded you of the value of investing in people, then share it with somebody. Tell them to like, subscribe, and follow to the show. And of course, a huge thank you again to our sponsor, Hubbard Flooring Studio, for supporting the Clark Connection podcast. We could not do this without you guys. Thanks for joining me today on the Clark Connection podcast. And remember, you don't need to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. So until next time, keep growing, keep leading, and keep connecting, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Clark Connection podcast. Thanks for listening to the Clark Connection podcast, where my goal is to add value to you. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show. You can also connect with me via my website, coachaclark.com, or on all socials at coach_a_Clark. The links are in the description. Huge thanks to my sponsors, Wayne with 7K Metals, Bobby with the Comfy Quest LLC, Andrew with Automate Integrate Professional Services, Joseph with Landscape King, and Chris and Jess with C&J Embroidery. Hey, we look forward to bringing you more great content. See you next week.